Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Help Wanted. Um, I'm so glad to see you here. We're a small group today, and I think that's just fine because you don't necessarily need to be muted because Brooksy McCarty, who is going to do the talking, is very happy to hear you just ask a question rather than use the chat box, so we can do that. So if you'd like to unmute, go ahead and unmute. If you prefer to be muted till you have something to say, it's up to you. It's your computer and it's your
Oh,
afternoon. But it's good to see you
oh,
all here. Um, I wanted to do a bit of a shout out, as I always like to do, to Capital Federal. They
hmm,
do have written a grant which brings all the things we do in retroactive to you for free. In other words, they're paying the bills, they're keeping the lights burning and the zooming. So we're really grateful to them. So do even if you don't bank there, go in and every once in a while say, gee, I sure like retroactive. That'd be very kind of you. Also, we want to mention the Sharon David Katzman, who have a foundation, a grant that is also paying our bills. And we're grateful to them. Mostly, I'm just grateful for this beautiful day. The weather's been spectacular. The leaves are falling like rain. I think
hmm.
there's a change coming. But we're all together for an hour to hear all about CASA, which is something you're all very interested in hearing about because you signed up. So I'm going to turn everything over right now to Brooksy, and she's going to get the ball rolling and tell us some things. We have two seasoned CASA volunteers with us who can tell us more about what it's like to do the work. So I'm all ears. Let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, great. As Laurel said, I'm Brooksy McCarty. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for Douglas County CASA. I have worked for CASA for around 8 years in a few different roles, so I feel like I understand our work pretty well, and I love to tell people about it. The work we do is often unknown until you hear about it, and then you'll hear more and more about the kids we serve all the time. So thank you so much for having me. I am gonna put our website and my email address in the chat. So if you have any questions or miss out on anything or want to go poke around on our website while I'm talking at you, please feel free. And as Laurel says, if you have questions that come up as I'm chatting, please interrupt me. This can definitely be a conversation instead of just a presentation. So
Perfect.
I'm going to work to share my screen. It worked a moment ago. We'll see if we can get it to work now. Okay, can you all see that?
Looks like success so far.
Okay, look at us go. All right,
Perfect. There they are.
okay. Let's see. I need be able to go to the next screen. There we go. Okay, so Douglas County CASA. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. We recruit, train, and support volunteers to advocate for children who are under the protection of the court and within the child welfare system. And they are in that system and under the protection of the court due to having experienced abuse or neglect. We often refer to these children as foster kids, and that is more or less accurate. They may be in a foster home or they may be placed with extended relatives or a friend of the family. So we say children in the child welfare system, but we really mean foster kids or vice versa. Um, we have a vision that we want all children in Douglas County, Kansas to thrive. We want to support their families, but we focus on the children and making sure the children are taken care of. Because often what is best for the child is or what's best for the family is what's best for the child. It's just whether or not we're able to all get on the same page with that. We serve all of Douglas County. Our office is based in Lawrence. We have a building in North Lawrence, but we do serve Baldwin City, Eudora, and Lecompton as well. You may wonder why we need volunteers. The last nationwide update we had was in 2022, and at that point there were over 368,000 children in foster care. So It is a nationwide need. CASA is a nationwide organization. We serve just Douglas County, as I said. It is divided up amongst judicial districts most often. So there is like a Shawnee County CASA, there's a Johnson and Wyandotte County CASA. There are 20 different organizations here in Kansas, and then there are organizations in all 50 states. They may be called something different, and it depends on the legal naming. And for instance, in Texas, they're called GALs, Guardians ad litem. So if you are not from here or know people elsewhere, you can ask around and see if you have heard about any other CASA organizations. Here in Kansas, there are over 5,500 children in foster care, and that means they have been removed from their home of origin. And then here in Douglas County, we currently have 69 children on our waiting list for CASA volunteer. So those numbers fluctuate from month to month. I just updated those numbers today based on the information available to us. But we have had over 60 people, 60 children on our waiting list for most of 2025. We keep getting more volunteers, but we keep getting more children who need advocates as well. The children we serve are ages 0 to 18 plus. We do serve newborns from time to time. Those are often children who we have known the mother because of other children in the family that have come into care. Or there's something extreme happening when the child is born. And we say 18 plus years because children can stay in the system until they are actually 21 years of age if they want to, or if they have specific needs that they need to remain in care for a specific reason. Most 18-year-olds are ready to say goodbye to the government once they turn 18, and that is a right that they have within the court system. We like to point out that all the kids we work with have experienced trauma. I'm sure you can acknowledge that just thinking about abuse and neglect. But even the fact that they're removed from the only home that they've known, that in and of itself is traumatic. And then the families that have dealt with these problems are often dealing with things like poverty, substance abuse, domestic violence, or mental illness. So it's a complicated situation that child is being removed from, but it is traumatic no matter the circumstance. We do see children who have experienced physical or sexual abuse, but the primary reason we see children removed from a home is due to neglect because their families are facing those kinds of problems and unable to care for the child in an appropriate way. Does anybody have any questions so far?
I'm just kind of wondering about who determines children being removed from their parents' care. I mean, the children certainly aren't self-reporting,
Sure, that's a great
would
question.
be my question. So how do they come to this? And I've also read in the paper that and elsewhere that foster care in Kansas is quite lax at the moment, slim to none, way overworked, and also COVID threw a monkey wrench and nobody visited anybody. There was a huge gap.
Yeah.
So wow, how do you find children?
Yeah. So we are closely associated with the court system. So we are assigned after the court has already deemed a home unfit for a child to continue living in until the problems are addressed. So that relies on the Department of Children and Families making reports to our assistant district attorney. Katie Britton is the one who works with all of our sync cases. And together they try to preserve families within the home by providing services once we know that problems arise. But there are also removals by police protection. So sometimes there's an emergency, police are called, and police do have the right to remove a child from the home if they feel it is an unsafe and unstable place. And then there is a trial within three days that's held to make sure that everyone understands or to prove that the child does need to stay out of the home at that point, and they would be put in foster care. We do recognize that foster care is the government is not meant to be a parent. Foster care is in of itself a traumatic experience for a lot of kids. And that's part of why we have our advocates involved to try and make that a less traumatic experience for the children we serve. So it comes from government entities, DCF, and our local judicial system basically make the decision if a child should not be in the home.
Thank you.
Question. Anything else before I keep going?
And let me just make a point. When Laurel was making a point that there have been lots of stories about the chaos or troubled times in foster care, and I get that. I mean, like Brooksy said, the state does not make a good parent. Foster care is not a good place to be. I get it, but there's always been concern about foster care. I really don't know that today's foster care system is all that bad or worse than yesterday's foster care system. And there are a lot of people trying to make things better and succeeding. And I mean, I don't know how to say this. I'm no fan of the system, but I also think that it gets I think some of the criticism it's kind of harsh.
Mhm.
Let's put it that way.
I can appreciate that. My husband was in law enforcement.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Makes a good story.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We also, it's just really hard. There's no easy solution to any of these problems. If we leave the kids in their home, they may experience more trauma than if we remove them. So I think that's a line that most people working in this area acknowledge and tread carefully about. I know in Douglas County, especially, we try and keep that in mind, but it's just tough, we all have different values and
Huh.
humans are complicated. Yeah.
When I just add something real quick?
Sure.
I was a special education teacher in California for a long time, and
Mhm.
at one point I had a kindergarten for emotionally disturbed students. And some of my students loved foster care. And the CASA people that came and went were a really good sort of moderating aspect to it all. And I saw some really good and harmonious foster care situations in those years I taught. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some
Can be
amazing.
great. Can be great.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Keep interrupting me, please. Uh, I like to point out that when kids come into care, um, the original goal for their court case is to try and reintegrate them into the home. And that can sound scary because you think abuse and neglect, why would we want to send that child home? But a lot of times it means that the whole family has needs that need to be met. So that is the first goal. We try and make sure whatever parent is in the household has a job and has appropriate housing and is able to meet a minimum sufficient level of care so that child could go back home. If that doesn't work out for whatever reason, if the parent is unable to address a mental illness or is unwilling to participate in the tasks that they need to participate in, that's when we start thinking about other options for the child to have a permanent home. And that might look like adoption by a family member or a foster family. And it may also mean that the child stays in the child welfare system until they turn 18. And we call that aging out of the system. They have that is what nobody wants. We don't want a child to at 18 age out of the system, because that means they have so few supports. And anybody who is familiar with 18-year-olds know that they still really need a parent, whether they admit it or not. So acknowledging that, they have tried to improve on the aging out process by presenting the sole permanency option. That stands for support, opportunity, unity, and legal relationships. And that is basically trying to surround them with a healthy adult network that will function kind of in the role as a parent as much as possible. It's not ideal, but it's gives them more supports than just aging out on its own. It is still being worked out. The sole permanency has been used maybe on one case that we've seen here in Douglas County. So it's still a work in progress, but they do acknowledge that having a child age out at 18 when they haven't had a strong sense of family for however many years is not ideal. So they are trying to fix that. It's also where we find our CASAs come into play a lot of the time. A CASA is tremendously helpful on cases with teenagers because we're preparing that kid to live in the real world, and they just don't have healthy adults if they don't have an advocate by their side. So we like to explain what having a safe permanent home means, and make sure everybody understands that the parents do get to try to have the child in their home again. It's about that first and foremost most of the time. Our volunteer requirements, I know this is shocking to this group, but you do have to be 21. I hope everyone can abide by that in the retroactive group.
Yes, just barely, yeah.
Just barely. We have an online application that you fill out if you're interested. I can send that link to anybody here in the group. You have to provide references and pass background checks. We have a lot of background checks we're required to do. We get audited by the Office of Judicial Administration every year, so we get to play by a lot of rules in order to be a functioning CASA program here in Kansas. And then one of the supports and requirements to become a volunteer is we give 30 hours of pre-service training, and that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But it really boils down to having 5 in-person sessions here in our office in North Lawrence. And those are each 3 hours. And we try and equip you as much as possible to understand the child or the sibling group that you're going to be working with. So we talk about the legal system and the child welfare system, how a child comes into care, what that legal process looks like. But we also talk about things like the child has likely faced substance abuse or domestic violence in the home to help you understand the dynamics they're coming from. We talk about child development and education, so you can know what to expect if you work with a 3-year-old versus a 13-year-old. Those are really different case needs if you're working with a baby versus working with a teenager. So we try to help equip people with those 30 hours of training. The extra time outside of our in-person sessions are homework that you can do at your own pace. And then we have some court observations you partake in. We have Citizen Review Board here in Douglas County. So you see a court observation and a Citizen Review Board observation. All of that together adds up to the 30 hours of training time. And to tell you a little bit about what you do when you are assigned to a case, You're appointed by the court. You have an oath and order that kind of works as your pass to get whatever information you need from the family. You are allowed to monitor the court orders on your case. And that sometimes means you check in with the case manager who's in charge of providing services to the family. Sometimes that means you are calling mom's therapist to see if she has been attending therapy, which is a court-ordered requirement. You also can check on the child's education and medical needs with your oath and order. All of this helps you investigate the child's circumstances and monitor the court orders. We have a great relationship with Judge Klepper, who is our local judge here in Lawrence. And he loves our CASA's court reports because he says it makes the child come in color for the picture he's trying to build of what their life looks like. Case managers also write court reports, but he says they're more black and white. It's just the facts a lot of the time, and our CASAs really try and describe what that child has going on in their life.
See her laugh? Let's see her laugh.
The minimum requirement of time every month is to spend an hour with the child or sibling group you're assigned to. When we say advocate, we mean that kind of, well, formally with a court report. That is how you formally advocate, is by writing that court report with what's going on in the kid's life and your recommendations. But informally, you're going to make sure that that kid has shoes that fit. And you're going to make sure that if they want to go out for football, they have everything they need in order to go out for football. So it's a role that advocacy is small and big when it comes to being a CASA. We do have a database we ask all our volunteers to use. I'll let Joyce and Dave tell you about their experience with those, with our Optima database. I think it's rather easy to use, and you have a support person to help you if computers are not your thing, but you're all here. I think you all must be very adept at having your computer skills used. And then we have a minimum requirement. We want everyone to try to be on a case for a minimum of 1 year. We ideally want people to stay on for the duration of their case. And we say that average is 3.5 years or 3.4 years here.
Wow.
Normally it's 2 to 3 years, but it depends a lot on the case. If you have a young child, they try to wrap those up definitely within 2 to 3 years. An older child, you may be on the case longer. So that is just something to think about when you are thinking about what kind of case you would like to serve on. We also have co-CASAs, and that would be a partner, a spouse, a family member, a friend that goes through training along with you, but you guys would serve on one case together. That is really effective for some people. I know Dave is a co-CASA with his wife, Candace, and sometimes that is just ideal for making sure that you have someone to talk to about the case, you have someone to help if you don't particularly like driving, or if you're less familiar with spending time with kids. It's a great fit for some people. It's not for everybody. Some people want to work independently and spend that one-on-one time with a kid. So it is available to you if you're interested. Any questions after this slide?
I just was wondering, so the children may or may not be living with their family.
They will not be when you're working with them,
Oh,
but they
they'll not
will
be.
be in
They'll be in foster care then with
Yes.
a foster family.
yes.
Okay.
So you would be visiting that child in their foster placement to at least get introduced to the foster family, and you would be arranging time to spend with that child, often with the foster family.
Okay.
But a lot of times our volunteers spend time with their CASA kiddo outside in the community. They go to parks, they go eat at a restaurant. You cannot have them in your home. for confidentiality reasons and to protect your privacy. But a lot of times people are spending time out in the community together.
Okay.
The time commitment is always something volunteers are interested in figuring out. So that 1 hour face-to-face with your child or sibling group is the minimum time commitment. If you have a child that you develop a great relationship with, that might look more like a weekly time that you guys set up to spend time together. It really depends on the case and what time you have to give. We do ask that you stay in regular email or text conversations with the case manager and with your supervisor. So your support person from our CASA staff is going to ping you and say, hey, how are things going with your CASA kid? They'll make sure that you are staying on top of things as well. And then you will likely meet the child's family because you'll be interested, but also you'll just be around that child and hear about them. You'll meet the foster family and you'll chat with case professionals, and you'll be checking in with them probably before you write a court report to get the latest updates on how progress is going. And then you attend every court hearing. Again, you have a support person who attends with you, your advocate supervisor. We have 4 advocate supervisors on staff, and I think, Dave and Joyce both have the same advocate supervisor, I think. But we do have 4 separate people. Margie Carr, who is also our training coordinator, and Amy Buckley-Ash, Charlotte Parizek, and Susan Anderson. So I like to say their names because sometimes people recognize them because they're all out and about in our community, have been in Lawrence for a long time. We also offer continuing education. You have to get 12 hours, but we try and make that as easy on you as possible. If you are a person who's interested in learning, which I'm guessing all of you are, it's pretty easy to get the 12 hours in. You can read books, watch movies. We offer in-person trainings as much as we can. And then we have a whole host of webinars, podcasts, things you can listen to that would help you on your case and provide those continuing education hours. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over. Let's start with Dave. Since you've been on your case longer, I would love to hear from you, and then we will hear from Joyce as well, and then I'll wrap it up for us.
Well, I think we had some questions provided to us beforehand. So let me run through those if I can do that.
Yeah.
I try to be quick. Well, I mean, I've been a CASA for about 10 years. My wife has been a CASA for about 3 years. And we have a kid who's, I think, just turned 12. And she's been in the system for about 3 years. And she's a sweetheart. And we're doing well with her. I mean, real well, actually. And I need to make the point that in my experiences through CASA, I've had 4 sets of kids, and only one of them was troubled. I mean, didn't turn out very well. And but I've had wonderful caseworkers. My CASAs have been my CASA supervisors have been very supportive. There have been some tense times, I guess you'd say, but situations. But your CASA supervisor is not going to put you in a bad place if things get touchy or whatever the word. They'll step in, and so the thing for me is I think a lot of people are afraid of being a CASA because they think these kids are wild and difficult and crazy. And actually, mine have just been, they're better behaved than my grandchildren. I'll tell you that. And and they just want somebody to be nice to them. And so real quick, the thing that I do that's different is every caseworker's biggest headache is windshield time. And so I tend to meet with my caseworker, through KBC, Call Valley, the foster care contractor that we contract with. And I just let them know that I'm available that I actually want to transport my kid to and from where they need to be. And they've been very receptive. It's like, holy cow, are you kidding? You're willing to do that? And I'm like, well, it's easy time. Yeah, it's an appointed time. It's all you do is drive a car. It's a very easy way to develop a one-on-one relationship with a kid in foster care because, you're in the car for however long it is. And anyway, that's something that I do that's kind of difficult or different. And, uh, you know, the other, um, the other thing I do I think that some CASAs think that they have to be big, to be a CASA and to have these big events and take them to these, to Taylor Swift concerts or something. And that's really not what it's about. It's just spending time with the kid, and it can be driving them to or from an appointment, or it can be the kid we have now is just loves going to the park. I mean, again, my grandkids wouldn't want to go to a park, but she thrives on going to she just loves the exercise and all that. And it's like, well, again, as a CASA, it's like, well, that's not difficult. You go to the playground and, they go nuts for 30 minutes and then they're ready, you know, to do something else. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be grandiose or whatever the word, just spending time with the kid. That's really all they're looking for. And the other thing, that's different that I do is like I'll take my kid, to garage sales, and like you pick them up on a Saturday morning, you go get a donut, you give them $5 or $10 in $1 bills, and then you go to the garage sales and they can buy, they have to budget their money. And they can buy stuff for a quarter, they can buy stuff for $1, and tell you a very positive relationship or experience is to go to a garage sale and you go to the late and then your kid wants to buy clothes or there's a lot of clothing, kids clothes, and you go to the mom and you say, and she can tell that you're either a grandparent or there's something going on here, and you say, would you help my friend find clothes that would be appropriate and fit and whatever. And man, it's just been such a positive thing that they're weighted on. It's a very neat thing to do. And they get stuff that they wouldn't get ordinarily for 50 cents. Anyway, there's that playground. We go to the library. You can get a study room, which is like glass all the way around. It's kind of cool to go in there, kind of soundproof. But we do art in there. We do schoolwork in there. We can read in there. Um, there's that. And then swimming, the indoor pool that, is it at Free State? I think it's at kind of by Free State.
Mhm.
They love to go swimming in the wintertime. I mean, that's really a cool thing. And we go swimming to the swimming pool in the summer as well. We usually go to Eudora because it's cheaper and it's not as crowded. And it's not as big. And when I've gone to take her to the Lawrence pool, it's so big. I mean, you have to, keep an eye on where they are. And so anyway, but it's um, so we were asked the best part of our experience and then the toughest part of our experience. And the best part is you really know that you're making a positive difference in a child's life. I mean, there's never a time when you're like, is this worth doing? You never have that. It's like, holy cow, this is important and I'm being effective and I'm accomplishing something. And it's kind of an existential thing where if you feel that we all have an obligation to make the world a better place, I mean, there's not to exaggerate, but I don't know anything that tops being a CASA when it comes to making a difference in the world we live in, I guess.
Mhm.
And then the toughest part of the experience, and I don't know, you may want to turn off Brooksy's headset, but the toughest part, and just being honest, is dealing with grandma. And because, mom or dad have been nudged out of the picture due to abuse, neglect, and their kid is now in the system. And, mom and dad's contact is limited. And then you got grandma over here who's, by God, that's my grandchild. And, and I have a say in this. And don't you talk to them. Don't you talk to them. Don't say a word. And, you just, well, you have to tell them and you have to tell yourself, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the child.
Mhm.
Okay. And that will get you through it. And you have to prove yourself, but eventually they come around. I think, at least they have in my instances. And the other negative, if we're just being honest here, is I had a teenage boy, and it didn't end well. And you know, and you find yourself wondering, well, what could I have done different, or what could the system have done different? And at some point, you have to realize that some of these kids are really damaged. I mean, I'm sorry, but they're damaged, and uh, you try, but you really can't beat yourself up over it because there's just too much to overcome. Should I apologize for saying that, Brooksy?
No, I think you have given an accurate portrayal of the spectrum that we see in our cases. There are cases that break our hearts from the very beginning because we can kind of see how they're going to go. It doesn't mean that we don't want an advocate for them. We don't want somebody to spend time with them, but it's going to be tough every step of the way. And then there are some cases where it's extremely rewarding because you're making a better future for a kid, and it just clicks, whatever the chemistry is between the volunteer and the kiddo. So
Well, I'd also just make the point real quick that when your CASA supervisor doesn't want to give you a kid that you don't think will work. And like, my wife and I have two daughters. And I know this sounds like Jeffrey Epstein, but I always tell my CASA supervisor that, I mean, I would prefer girls because have two daughters, and and boys are different. And I'm just more comfortable having girls because I've dealt with them before, and I don't have any sons. But you have a say. Your CASA supervisor doesn't want you to have a kid that you're not comfortable with, whether it be a baby or a teenager or a boy or a girl or, special needs or what. I mean, you get to have a say. It's not like, we're doing this whether you like it or not. And the other question that we were asked was about, do we feel supported? And I've never felt unsupported, let's put it that way. And I've never felt like I didn't know what to do. And and your CASA supervisor gets right back to you. I mean, especially if there's an issue. So you will be you will be supported is what I'm trying to say. It's not, it's not like you're thrown to the wolves and see you later. It's not like that at all.
There's two questions here in the chat box, and
Yep.
either one of you or even maybe Joyce could speak to them. First one came in a bit ago. It says, how does the CASA differ from a case manager role? Which
Yeah.
maybe speak to them one at a time.
Yeah, I would, I'd love to answer that. So CASA is different because we ask you to serve one child, or one sibling group at a time. A case manager is supposed to have only 15 families they're serving. So that means they're providing service for mom, maybe dad, and all of the children on their caseload. We actually see they go over that quite a bit because of staff shortages. So they have a whole bunch of people that they're working with, and we're asking you to work for just one.
One child.
The case manager is also, this is a distinct thing I like to point out. A lot of the times our kids we serve know that people are paid to spend time with them. And our CASA volunteers are not paid to spend time with them. They may be reimbursed. We may reimburse you for certain costs that you incur. But it means a lot to them a lot of the time when they realize that they have somebody spending time with them because they want to, because they care. So I think that is another big difference that differentiates us from a case manager.
That's really, really great. And here's the other question. Are there any liability concerns with the CASA role? How are matches made with a specific child and a CASA worker? So that's actually two questions. But
Yeah.
I think speak to the liabilities, if any, and how do you match people up?
Yep. So part of how we limit the liability, you are covered under CASA's liability insurance when you become a trained and certified volunteer. And that's part of why we have the training requirements we do. And that's why we make you undergo like 8 background checks. You actually get fingerprinted when you're a CASA volunteer. And if you are going to drive your CASA child around, like Dave mentioned that he does on his case, you can only do that if it's a child that is in a booster seat or older. So you can't drive an infant around just because of those requirements. And then we also make you sign a contract and we check your driving record. So we cover a lot of those liability concerns by having a one-on-one support person that you're talking to all the time, and then all those background checks that are covered. But you personally don't have an increased liability if you decide to become a volunteer, in my eyes. And then Dave kind of touched on how matches are made with a child and a CASA worker. We have a list of those 69 children who are on our waiting list, and some of them are higher priority than others. But we ask you what age or what age child you want to work with, if you have a specific sex of child that you want to work with, if you want a single child or a sibling group. We ask all those questions, and then we try and match up your preferences with our high priorities. It's not like a wish list. You can't say that you want a 7-year-old who's going to Hillcrest Elementary School and is an only child. We can't grant you all of those things, but if that is your interest, we'll try and get as close as possible, or just learn who you are and what might work. Because as Dave mentioned, we want it to be a successful match. We don't want to give you the world's hardest case and just hope for the best. That's
That doesn't sound like that at all. Well, thank you for that.
yeah. Joyce, are you ready to tell us a little bit about your experience?
I am. My experience is a little bit different than Dave's. This is my first assigned case. Went through my training a year ago, and I just want to comment on the training. It was amazing, amazing. But and then also my background, I was an elementary principal for 20 years and an educator for 40 plus years. So children have always been a part of my life, and I will never, ever give up on a child. I just can't. And so my last community, I was an elementary principal. I served on the city commission and I was a mayor. So I was not able to get involved with CASA because too many people knew me and I knew too many people. So when we moved to Lawrence, it was an opportune time to get involved with the Douglas County CASA, and I have no regrets, absolutely none. Okay, so I'm going to give you a background of my little family. Well, it's really kind of a large family. I have been assigned to 3 little girls, 10, 8, and 6, out of a family of 8 children. So the way this family started was they've got an older daughter who is aged out of CASA, and then they have the only boy who has a CASA assigned to him, and then I've got the next 3 little girls, and then there's 3 little babies under that. When I first started, they were in foster care, but it was a family situation. An uncle and aunt had taken the 5 little girls and the older boy. And it was working beautifully because with a family that large, it's probably difficult to find one placement for a family that large. So this family's very close. So it was really good to see them in a family situation with their aunt and uncle. And everything was going well. I just would go over they were in Shawnee at this time. The case started here in Lawrence, but then the family was over with foster care in Shawnee. So I'd drive to Shawnee and spend time with them. Well, then in July, we went to court and realized they were reintegrating the children or reunifying the children with their mom and dad. And that was a struggle for me because everything I'd read about the mom and the dad, and I knew the girls were in a safe place and thriving, and all the background that I'd had on the mom and dad were, drug abuse and use. There was some volatility, there was insecure jobs, homeless. And so there were a lot of issues that mom and dad had dealt with. And then they had also tried to reunify their girls once before and failed. So my alert went up that, oh, this is unnerving to me because I don't want them to go through another trauma.
Wait a minute. Was this KVC was wanting to reunify or the court was wanting to reunify?
KVC.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
here comes CASA.
So anyway, we went to court and the parents everybody presented, and the judge says we're going to go ahead with reunification. So the girls and went back into the home the end of July, and then their older brother, who had been in multiple placements. In fact, I think he was in over 40 placements. And yeah, yeah, just breaks your heart, doesn't it? I mean, seriously. And but at any rate, he joined the family in September. Whew. So now we are all a family, mom, dad, the five girls, the older boy, and then they had a baby. So mom and dad had another baby on. So now we've got seven children, mom and dad in a two-bedroom apartment. And yeah, it was challenging, but and I was so nervous. And so what I did is I went over there more often just so I could touch base because the oldest girl she was nervous, but she kind of clams up, that type of person. So I think it's very important that children know the adults are there for them. When I was a principal of an elementary school, my school was about 430 kids. By the end of May, I knew 430 names. That was my goal because children want to know they're recognized and loved and cared about. And so I figured if I went over there more often, I could see how they were doing. It has been amazing. I was just over there yesterday. They moved into a four-bedroom home. They have saved, dad has maintained his job now for quite a while, longer than probably any time in his work career. Um, dad saved up money. This is my most fun story. So dad had been using drugs since he was 13. He's now 37. So, and this is the first time he's had a job for any length of time at all. And their goal, they didn't have a vehicle. So they were using public transportation to try to get around. Anyway, dad is so proud of this job, so proud of the money he's making. He literally pulled up his bank account on his phone and showed me how he was saving so much money for this, car and such. And it was just heartbreaking because I think they trust me. And that's a huge step in CASA is building that trust and that. But anyway, so now they've got a van, they've got a four-bedroom home. We went to court the end of October. So we're looking at this case could probably wrap up by the first of the year if things continue in the direction they're going. The one thing, CASA is just so rewarding to me too, because even though I feel like I'm giving or offering support and that what they give back to me is amazing. It just gives you a sense of, we can do this. We can do this as a team, and you become a team with your CASA family and your children. And like I said, I was there yesterday. We took over supplies for the mom and dad. Oh, I wanted to tell you too that my supervisor's Amy, and when we found out about no vehicle and that, she wrote a grant and was able to come up with $1,500 for this family to purchase a car. And I mean, the resources are out there, and CASA is amazing at helping you find what your people may need, and like right now with SNAP, the situation with SNAP, I know there's a lot of us CASA volunteers that are quite nervous about this because even though they are going to reinstate some of the money, it's going to be weeks, months.
Mhm.
And, nobody should have food insecurity. That's my belief. Nobody in our country should ever have food insecurity. So we have a lot of challenges that we're looking at. But again, CASA has so many resources. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I need to focus on? Oh, what do I do with my kids? Because my kids are in the Kansas City area and I'm not as familiar with Kansas City, I play a lot of games with them at the home. We have planted plants together. We have made teachers gifts. We have written thank you notes. We've, done we've done nails together and just all kinds of things. I mean, children are children and they love to be read to. And, children just love adults around them. They really do. And it's been rewarding. Ongoing training, piece of cake, piece of cake. I
Love
just
to hear
put
that,
my
Joyce.
earphones on, put a podcast in, and I'm walking for miles, So yeah, CASA provides anything and everything you need. It's a wonderful, wonderful, it's just wonderful. I can't say enough about it.
It sounds wonderful. I'm wondering, we just have a little bit of time left. If anybody who's signed up is listening, if you have any questions, we've got some wonderful stories and resources here. It does sound daunting, but on the other hand, I would say having the experience that I've had as a foster parent, well worth it. Here's a question. What makes a child higher or a children higher priority on the wait list? Maybe Brooksy needs to speak to that.
Sure. I would say a lot of times if KBC, the case managers, or Katie Britton, the assistant district attorney, they will tell us if they specifically want a CASA on a case because they have a better understanding of what's happening in those cases before we have a CASA assigned. So oftentimes we go off of that input. And then also how long a child's been waiting for a CASA, if we foresee them if we foresee their case staying open, and it's been a long time, we want to get a CASA on there to help. So it's a good question.
Okay, that is a good question. Does anybody else have any other questions? I will be very happy to share, Brooksy, your contact information with the people who signed up to watch this Zoom. And if you are watching it recorded a few days from now, reach out to me at the library through Retroactive, and I'll be glad to get information to you. I did tell all these participants and Brooksy before we started, it sounds like a heavy lift, which is, this isn't handing out programs at Theater Lawrence. This is a heavy lift, but it is sounds like a very worthwhile lift to the right kind of person who feels like it. And I think anybody who's signed up is at least thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so I would urge you to take a step at it, having done something similar. It is a worthwhile thing. But gosh, it's been wonderful hearing from you, Joyce. Welcome to Lawrence.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for enriching the city so much. And Dave, thank you for your hard work. I love the idea about the garage sailing. And Brooksy, wow. Thank you for the work that you do in the community. Thank you for retroactive people who came to listen today. I guess we'll end the meeting. I hope I'm looking at my kitchen window and the moon is spectacular. So if you have a window nearby, be sure to look at the beautiful moon that's shining down on us tonight, reminding us it's going to be okay. And thank you for the work you do. And everybody, will see you next time. And thanks for being with us.
Great.
And here's
Thank
from
you.
someone, the application
Thank
link,
you.
Brooksy, and someone says, thank you for the great information
Yes.
and the great stories as well.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.